Are you? Okay. It wasn't quite 3 o'clock when I said that. I'm sorry.
This webinar has started and is being recorded. I still think we sit here until there's somebody watching us.
Oh, sure.
They should all get notifications if they registered too, I think.
How many did you have, Beth? Do you know?
I don't know. Hello, everyone. We got a couple of people coming in.
Oh,
Welcome.
good, great. Hello. Oh, I'm seeing 8 folks. Wonderful.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm going to turn my chatter off until we're ready.
Welcome, welcome. We're just going to give folks a few more minutes to trickle in. So we're right at the top of the hour. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited you're here today. Great. Hello, everyone. I'm seeing you all trickling in. Thanks so much for coming in. We're just going to give people a few more minutes. Take some time, grab a drink of water. Get started in a few minutes. So very excited seeing a lot of familiar faces and names. Welcome, everyone. Get started in a couple of minutes. You are in the right place. Hopefully you can hear me. You know, the audio is working. Great. We're just going to give people about 1 more minute so we have a critical mass, and we'll jump right in.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're thrilled to have our first webinar for the Whitman-Walker Institute's Health Equity Grant, and this webinar will be focused on recruiting partners for health equity. My name is Liana Faleka-Eshete. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm Senior Policy Analyst at Whitman-Walker. And I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
And then I'll take it. Hi, I'm Dee McGreeny. I am the Director of External Training at Whitman-Walker Institute. And my pronouns, she, they. Okay.
Thanks, Dee. Hi, everyone. My name is Benjamin Brooks. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of Policy and Education at the Whitman-Walker Institute. And I'll be running the slides today.
Thank you, Ben. All right, so we figured we could get started with a grounding. So I'm going to turn it over to Dee to take us.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, again. This piece of the work came out because I think we often wind up in meetings where people are running to and running from, but not grounded in the work that they want to do. So we wanted to give everyone a couple of minutes and invite them to just feel their breath and not so much think about what you want to say going forward, but just feel yourself right here now. So I brought one of my singing bowls, if you can see that. And this, the sound is really directed at the heart. So as you hear this, what I want you to do is try and sit up to the best of your ability, but ground yourself in your hips and feel yourself upright. Royalty is where you are. That's who you are. And don't try and concentrate on anything, but allow thoughts to come in and go out. Your brain does not stop in meditation. It's a method of not being drawn off by random thoughts. So we're just going to take a minute or so. Here's the bell. Now I'll invite you to just take a breath. Don't hold it. If you can place your hands on your knees, lower your gaze. You can watch the beautiful flowing water if you want, or we'll just sit quietly for a minute or so. But allow yourself to breathe and come back to clear mind. I'm going to invite you all to just feel your hips on your seat and think about your body grounded, rooted to the earth, and your head being held upright. Physicians encourage to let the breath enter and leave the body in a real way. So I'm going to share the bell again here. As you come back to the room, however you see clear mind, this picture is one of the ways you can see clearly. So bring yourself in the room with your intention for the work you're going to do this afternoon. I appreciate your time and your energy and grounding. There you are.
Thank you so much, Dee.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely am feeling grounded, like I needed that today. I hope you all feel the same way. So if we could go into the next slide, let's get into our agenda for today. So we will start with a little bit about Whitman-Walker Institute for those who are or are not familiar. Then we'll talk about this project, and then partnerships and recruitment and what we're thinking in terms of recruitment of partners for next steps, and then open for questions. If you have questions along the way during the presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat. You also can raise your hand, but we will ask that you hold questions until the end of the presentation. If we're not able to get to all questions, our contact information is on the last slide, so we can connect over email. Next slide, please.
Just finding the unmute button still. Hello, everyone. So just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview if you're not familiar, but what Whitman-Walker Institute is. I imagine if you're here, you know the name Whitman-Walker, and that's what drew you here. Whitman-Walker Institute, I think of it as the think tank that is connected to the health center. So we do the research, policy, and education. We're here to supercharge the learnings that we have gained since our founding in 1973 so that we can share the information that we have about how best to reach LGBTQ people, how we can provide care and healing environments that are welcoming and affirming for people's lives. We've learned a lot in the more than 50 years of service to our community in DC, and what the Institute is here for is to spread that knowledge far and wide. So we have a local presence, we have a regional presence, and of course, we have a national presence. So just to because it bears repeating, I'm going to read out the mission statement that the Whitman-Walker Institute Policy Department works to advance laws and policies at the local, state, and national levels that promote health equity, expand access to health care and coverage, and to dismantle discrimination and other forms of structural oppression. We know that health is our entire lives, right? And so we're looking at in this project a really open mind around what are the inputs that drive and create access to health, and what are the situations and barriers to health for many of people in our community. So in this project, we're leveraging our collective voices, we're building collective knowledge and collective power in order to change what's possible for our communities. I think it's helpful to say out loud, even though it's clear, that we don't have all the answers here in the house at Whitman-Walker. We do have a lot of expertise, right? We know in particular about how to navigate existing structures, but we might not know how to create new structures and environments. And we think that knowledge is in our communities, and that we know how to build to create community safety and community wellness. So we're looking forward to this project to help sort of create a space that we can do that together. This is a project of imagination. I'm giving you a little bit of background on this next slide around how we're doing this project and why. Liana and I led at Whitman-Walker the grant application to the Greater Washington Community Foundation to address social and structural determinants of health. We at Whitman-Walker were not the only ones to be awarded in this grant cycle. So you're seeing in this picture here sort of a sample of the 14 orgs that are working with the Greater Washington Community Foundation on creating and supporting structural and systems change for health equity. This is a wider network, right? We were excited to get about $750,000 in funding for 4 years, but that's just a small part of the wider community of folks who are also collaborating and working across sectors, across housing and health equity and racial equity, in employment and in environmental justice and in food justice and the criminal justice system. Very exciting work. So we are saying this so that you know that if you don't want to plug in here, we think that there are many other places for you to plug in, and we are all excited for us to each find a home that we can feel that we can contribute to the greater project. So We're very grateful for our funder and for our partners, and we're excited to be doing this work together, right? This is a collective action. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to Liana.
Thank you, Ben. So just wanted to say that we have tentatively planned a vision for the 4 years of the project, specifically divided into phase 1, which is years 1 and 2, and then phase 2, which are years 3 and 4. But we really do want to invite our partners to help guide this project and based on what we see in our communities, based on the work that we're doing, make sure that this project is aligned with the mission of our organizations and the mission of this grant. So the vision that I'm about to share is our current vision, but it is flexible. So in thinking about how to use these funds, we thought about what's the most effective way to advance health equity and racial and economic justice in a way that already builds on the critical work that so many organizations and people in the district are already doing. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, and we know that collective action is the most powerful form of action for systems change. So we really wanted to focus in phase 1 on partnership and how we can amplify and grow and strengthen the partnerships that already exist and build new partnerships. So the vision is to create a partnership framework in years 1 and 2 in collaboration with other organizations and leaders dedicated to health equity and racial and economic justice. And the partnership framework will codify best practices for collaboration, like I said, increase the efficiency and equity of current partnerships and relationships, and then along the way, hopefully break down silos in policy advocacy work and allow us to work collaboratively in service of well-being for minoritized communities in the district. So one of the challenges that we hope to address through this project is the siloing and the specific focus on issue areas that don't allow us to really address the needs that people have as whole people. We're not, we as people don't live one issue lives, so therefore our movement should not be one issue. And our hope is that by breaking down the silos in our policy advocacy work and by building this partnership framework, we can really create, and I'll talk more about this in phase 2, an agenda that is cross-sectoral and really aligns with the needs of our community across issue areas. So just not only in health, but beyond health. Next slide, please. Okay, so years 3 and 4 are phase 2. We're hoping to use the partnership framework and the ideals and the strong relationships that we've built to create a queer and trans policy agenda for racial and economic justice. So in 2022, the District of Columbia released a racial equity action plan that comprehensively outlined racial justice needs in the district and proposed solutions to address these issues. But the plan did not address the role of homophobia and transphobia in the oppression of residents, and specifically of residents of color. And so we're hoping that in phase 1, we can build partnerships and use the partnership framework to, in phase 2, build this agenda. And the agenda can serve as an organizing tool for advocates and citizens to improve the lives of all district residents, and also serve as a model of an intersectional policy agenda for cities and other jurisdictions across the country that might be wanting to do similar cross-sectoral work. Next. So moving into the values, we really wanted to ground with a set of values that we aspire to and hope to walk out in this project, but these are not the only values that I think we can include on this slide. So we really want to work with partners to expand this list of values, edit this list of values. This is just a first draft. What we don't want to do is recreate harmful power structures like gatekeeping information, exhausting in too many meetings, meetings at a time where community members might not be able to attend because it's between the hours of 9 to 5, or just doing activities for the sake of doing them to appease a donor or to check a box. These are the values that we really expect from ourselves and from our partners and how we really want to show up in this work. So I'll go down the list quickly. The first is inclusive representation. We strive to create a space where all voices are uplifted and represented, and the lived experience of people who are multiply marginalized by existing structures are centered. Next value is addressing systemic inequities. Together, we will identify and challenge the systemic barriers that disproportionately affect queer and trans communities of color, with a focus on racial and economic disparities. We want to create equitable opportunities, so we envision an agenda that will outline actionable policy actions to advance wellness and joy through economic empowerment, access to quality healthcare, safe housing, educational opportunities, among other areas for people in the district. And we talked a lot about partnerships already in this webinar, so fostering solidarity and equitable partnerships. We aim to strengthen solidarity amongst a diverse community of allies, recognizing, like I said earlier, that collective action is the most powerful tool for creating lasting change. And lastly, we want to prioritize wellness. We know that the work to advance racial justice and health equity can be and is often mentally, physically, and spiritually taxing. We want to make sure that along the way we are advancing the mission that we all care about, but we also are taking care of each other.
Great. I'll add here, I think one of the values that is not on here is that I think could be is fun. We're really invested in like not having this be a sort of a pro forma or an exhausting set of activities. So I'm going to advance to the next slide and think about here, like, what is our vision for this first year partnership? To emphasize, this is year one. We are really down to change. Please give us your input. If you're like, this could be fun, but what you really should be doing is this other activity, let us know. We're very open to changing this based on your feedback. You are our drivers and those who are sort of close to the issue. So our vision is that we are inviting creativity in this partnership framework, right? We are working on working together. We know our problem statement is that there are barriers for folks doing good work together. And what we want to do in year one and year two is figure out structures and community agreements so that we can work together better, de-siloing, providing better support for one another, seeing where we could take loads off of each other so that it's easier to share this vision of what it means to have a better District of Columbia for everyone. So the second is ensuring inclusivity. This means to work with us, you don't have to be a 501c3. You don't have to have a business plan. You can just have an idea. You can have a person or a group of people who say, we have a really fun idea. We need $1,000, $500. We need $2,000. I don't know. We have $75,000 annually for partnerships. So dream big or dream small. If you're like, actually, I want to have a weekly collection of my 10 friends and we're all going to dream about and collect artwork related to, I'm excited. We've got lots of ideas, but I don't want to stifle anyone by putting out too many of my own. We want to support you in a way that aligns with your existing capacities. We're not asking anybody to do the impossible, but we are inviting you to ask us if you would like to sort of do something more or need support to do what you're already doing, or if you had a really great activity that you were engaged in and you're like, I could do it again if I had this resource, let us know. We're excited to support you in the work that you're already doing. So you can see, I'm going to take a pause. Remember our grounding. You can see this timeline we're working out here. We're trying not to be in a hurry. So we are having our recruitment event today. We are working on, and I'm going to show you in a couple of slides, the preview of the partnership application. We're going to open that up. It's going to be a very simple Google form. Then we're going to close that after 40 days. So it should be easy. This is just this first year as well. I'm going to emphasize that a couple more times, is that as we learn and grow, we're going to change. And then we're going to let you know about that you have been sort of selected for funding or other kinds of partnerships. We also, if you're like, hey, I want to do this, but I don't need any funding, we're there too. Okay. And then we're going to work to support you, convene us all, if you're available, in the spring in order to really launch this in earnest after February and March. So some ideas that I've thought of, but don't have to be sort of limited: essay competitions, block parties, teach-ins, focus groups, dinners, anything where you feel that we can build collectively for advancing a partnership framework, where you're talking about how we want to be treated together in order to advance health equity work. Okay. We have lots of resources available. In addition to the partnership, we have funds available for translation services, transportation, food, and renting spaces. So if you again have a need for one thing, and you can bring the rest, we want to come in there and provide that extra support. What we're going to ask in return is a question for us, because what we want to do is build collective knowledge as well. So we're interested in creative ways of capturing the value of these activities. When we bring people together, we learn from one another inherently. And so trying to think about what are the ways that we can creatively capture that. That might be, blocking off a time for everyone to sit and share what brought them into that space that day, or what's keeping them coming back. There could be essays, it could be photos, it could be videos, it could be dance, music videos, it could be dances, art. We're being really open here because we think that the vision, and an expansive vision of what an equitable and healthy future looks like, hasn't yet been described in the district, and we want to be part of the group that does it. Okay, Liana, anything that I'm missing there you want to fill in?
I don't think so. Just wanted to highlight that the funding available in year one, as it says on the slide, is $75,000. So we have $75,000 annually for all 4 years of the project, just for partnerships and convenience.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Okay. If you're not seeing what you're doing reflected in what we're saying, I would love you can drop us an email at justiceagendadmv@whitmanwalker.org, and we will take that into consideration to fold that back in and make revisions. All right. So this is a couple of sort of how we're thinking of organizing your inputs. Just to let you know, we're thinking to sort of tier this out. We want to invite anyone with interest to come and work with us. So we're thinking at a tier 1, that's inviting your community to join our work. That's sharing things on social media and attending events and activities that people are throwing. The second is tier 2, right? That's reviewing and drafting documents, attending convenings, recruiting friends and community members to participate, and also, right, sharing on social media. And then tier 3 is being involved at the high level strategic planning, co-organizing or organizing convenings, conducting community consultations, bringing people in from your networks, and co-drafting our partnership framework with us. Noting here, you don't have to be a nonprofit. You can be an individual. You can be a group of folks. We are, again, having an expansive vision. And if you feel like you might fit somewhere in between or outside of these tiers, that's okay too. This is just to help us sort of organize where we think folks might be. Anything else you want to add, Liana or Dee? Okay.
Just to say that, as it says on the slide, funding is available for all tiers. As Ben said, these tiers were just helpful for us to give you a sense of what we're hoping in terms of your participation. But as we continue with the project, if the project were to shift, some of these opportunities might change as well.
Great. Yeah, thank you. And this is just a quick preview of what we're looking for. So we're going to ask you to tell us about yourself. What is your mission? If you have, we want to sharing your mission about what you see as your purpose in this world and in this work. Who do you reach? Who are you in community with? Who are you talking to regularly? Who are you influencing? Who's influencing you? How does your work advance health equity, racial justice, and economic justice? Right? We want to make sure that we're partnering with folks who are aligned in this work as well. Involvement. How involved do you want to be? That's really what that's about. And then the sort of funding questions are, what is your vision for contributing to this project, and how can we work with you and you work with us to achieve it? How much money do you think you're going to need to achieve it? And then this last one is how can we make sure that this project sustains your growth, right? We're not interested in sort of just sucking you dry and taking value add and then walking away. We know that we live in this community together, right? We are not interested in extractive, we're interested in growth. So these are the questions that we envision. They might look different. We look for your feedback on them. The answers on the form are going to be really open-ended. So if your answer you don't feel like fits exactly in with the question, that won't disqualify you. We're not being strict. We want to make it super low barrier. Yeah, I want to open it up here for Liana and Dee to add anything that I'm missing. Okay.
One of the things I would just encourage folks on the line to think about is your vision came to you or is with you for a reason. It's strong in there. I encourage you to think about sustainability. Oh, that's what you did, man. But really think about how you would want to grow this and how you want to grow yourself from doing this work, not just out it's in as well. Okay, there you go.
I'm gonna advance this one more slide. So we're open for questions. If people have a questions, they can raise their hand and I can allow you to talk. That's absolutely what we can do. I'll add while we're waiting for folks, you can also put it in the chat or in the Q&A box. We're working with our internal systems here. We have an obligation as the recipient of the fund to make sure that the money is spent well, but we're also working in tension to make sure that we're keeping it as low barrier as possible. So know that we're thinking about making this as easy as we can. We receive grants. We know grant reporting is a hassle. We don't want to make this harder than it needs to be. So know that if you're concerned, we're trying to cut the paperwork to a minimum. Okay. We'll wait for questions, but if there aren't any, then we will end early. Don't worry.
I would just say also questions or comments,
Oh yeah.
suggestions. We're already in partnership in this webinar. So.
Great. We have a question asking if we know how many partners we're aiming to bring on. I would say the answer for this is hopefully in the hundreds. I would like to have us have a really wide network. One of our visions is that we can share the work, right? We know that people are working in their worlds to build a better city. And we think that if we create visibility, we can create a situation where people can look across and see those who are also co-laboring and feel like we're in this together. So if we can create a wide network of partners, then we can open it up as much as possible. The second question, maybe I'm happy to answer it as well. It says, will the application be emailed? And the answer is yes. We're going to email the application to everyone who attended the webinar, and we'll ask you to forward it on as well.
So the next question, is there a maximum dollar amount potential partners can request? So we want to be super transparent, which is why we have shared already how much we have available in year one. So it is $75,000 available in year one for partnerships and convenings. I wouldn't say that there's a maximum dollar amount. I think if you can justify the amount of money that you need and why you need it and how you're going to be using it, then we can have conversations moving from there. But also keep in mind that, like Ben said, we would like to have as many partners as possible. So if one organization is requesting all $75,000, that would not be a possibility, unfortunately.
Do you want to do the next one too?
Yeah, is the idea that you would, oh, sorry, I was moving. Is the idea that you would reassess what partnerships look like during each phase of this project? That's a great point. I think the partnerships framework is definitely going to be a constantly evolving document. As we build, for example, the agenda, if we see additional values or guidelines or frameworks that we need to incorporate in our partnerships, then we can for sure continue to work on that.
And in another tact, the who we're going to be sort of the who will be receiving money from the fund for the partnerships probably will change from year to year. So we're gonna look as well to fund as wide a variety of people as possible, because that's we want to share, and the needs of the project are going to change, and so it will be tactical and strategic to achieve the goals of building a partnership framework and then setting an agenda. So who we are funding will look different, but again, we want to be super transparent about that so that you're not wondering why, because we're all in this sort of together. Okay, thank you for those questions. Those were really helpful.
Do we want to, if you have any more questions, drop them in the chat. You also have our email address here. You also can raise your hand. So there's a variety of ways for you to ask questions / share comments. Moving forward in terms of next steps. So like Ben said, we will be sharing the Google form for the partnership application at the end of next week. It will be emailed to all participants on this webinar. We also will be sharing it in various listservs and coalitions, with the hope that people who couldn't attend today can also participate and apply for a partnership.
It is possible to get a copy of these slides to share with our colleagues. Yes.
Yeah, of course. This webinar is also recorded, so we will share the recording for folks who weren't able to attend today as well. It'll
go out with the email with the application. The other thing, I know we have a number of really close partners who are doing great work. If your ongoing work needs additional support and it's already addressing health equity and racial and economic justice for queer and trans people, send us a note, like fill out the application to say, hey, we need an extra X number of dollars to keep doing what we're already doing. That's really valuable for us. We want to be here for you and with you. Okay.
And the next slide, which is the last slide, it's just to say thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Thank you for your interest in this project. Thank you, Dee, and thank you everyone for participating in the grounding exercise that we started this webinar with, and really looking forward to learning more about how we can partner together and starting this really important work. Y'all have almost half an hour back in your day, so I hope you can take some time to rest. Thank you, everyone.
Thank y'all.